tuna sandwich spread. Muna siya akong dinner karong gabi una. Okay. Before tayo padayon, magpili sa kung white marker, whether it is a black, green, and whatever. Whatever. Kisira, whatever will you, baby. Kisira. Diba? Ganon. Yung vibrating pulses. Diba? Ganon. Diba? So, welcome back to my YT channel. This is again, I am a singer channel voice. Let's solve another problem that relates to applied forces, tension forces, net forces, frictional forces, kinetic forces like that, normal forces, weight forces, all kinds of forces in physics. Okay? Then basta. Chart. Okay, a 5 kilogram box is pulled to the right by a horizontal force of 200 Newton. A constant frictional force of 60 Newton opposes, period. Calculate the net horizontal force acting on the box. Calculate the acceleration. How far will the box travel after 15 seconds? Huh? Okay. Letter B, ang acceleration, and letter C, how far? Based on my understanding, okay? Okay, meaning A, we need to compute the net force. Okay, the difference of all the forces involved in our free body diagram in this particular problem. And then we have to compute also the acceleration, letter B. Letter C, we need to calculate the total distance, how it will travel. And then the box will travel with a corresponding time of 15 seconds. So, it depends on the time in letter C. Okay? So, first thing is to sketch or to show our F body, free body diagram of forces. Okay, so in this situation, it's exactly the opposite of my first problem shown, which is a board examination problem. This is not a board examination, this is only based on the reference, okay, one of the sources I obtained through research, okay, something like that. So, this is not with angle of inclination. So, this is more easier compared to the problem number 1. Okay, now, the data. 5 kilogram box is the mass. Mass is 5 kilogram. Okay. Is pulled to the right. So this is the box. Let's say this is Jun. Okay. Jun pulled the box to the right. Okay, meaning the force is going to the right. This is the tension force. Okay, delivered by Jun, which is 200 Newton. Okay, I forgot the microphone. I cannot intensify my voice. Okay.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
Okay, again, this is schematic diagram or sketch. We have the Jun. Okay, pull the box, which weighs 500 kilogram, and then going to the right with a tension force of 200 Newton, right? And then a constant frictional force of 60 Newton. So it's gonna be here opposite direction, which the opposing force or constant frictional force FF is equals to 60 Newton. Okay, so we need more tension force to move. which is absolutely correct. We have 200, right? And we need also greater than 60 Newton to move as our net force. Let's check that out. If it is correct or not, right? That is our assumption. Okay? Because if your net force is lesser than 60, then this block will not move. Okay? You get the point? Okay, like that. Okay, first, calculate the acceleration. Capital A. Capital A or capital A is just the same. Do not confuse this with the unit of ampere. Na capital A po siya. And sometimes also ampere current is also small letter A. It depends on the situation, how you treat it in your problem solving. The important is how you treat it as that quantity. It's not really the letters. You can designate any letters as long as you refer that as this quantity, then bingo. Okay? For example, if I will treat this acceleration as Z. So it is also okay as long as I know this Z is acceleration all throughout my solution process. So that's the point. Do not be concerned too much with capital A, small letter A, like that. And sir, that's ampere. That's not, diba? It's not also that's not logical to ask. Okay? So our A here is acceleration, which is you need to find out. So it is question mark. Okay. And then letter C, the distance. Okay. Okay, the distance covered. How far will the batch travel after 15 seconds? So the distance at 15 seconds. Okay, meaning that this is the total distance that the batch will travel after 15 seconds. Okay? It's gonna be like that. Now, take a look with your free body diagram. Okay? Guys, the point here, we don't use the gravitational force or the normal force and the weight force because this is not directed downward. Unless stated that there is a normal force in your problem, then you can do also. Okay, this is just only a minimum. Actually, there's still normal force going upside, weight force going downward. Since our problem doesn't involve that because this is purely moving horizontal forces or tension force or applied forces without considering the downward forces involved by this bands. Because if you're trying to be strict, as Jun pulled these backs, there's always corresponding weight force of that backs that pulled that downward. But in the problem, it's not mentioned. That's why we don't focus to that. Okay? Kung ato yung strict tuhon ba? Because the backs has its own weight. Of course, while it is moving on the front or forward, it's also going downward a little bit. Like that's why it causes the vibration a little bit. When you push the object, right? It will vibrate. The vibration means it's regardless with sound. Whether it's sound or not, vibration will occur. You got the point? So it's a wrong concept to say vibration is always accompanied with sound. There's also sometimes there's no sound but it vibrates. Okay? Things like that, especially when the floor is very soft, not necessarily it creates sound, right? There is a sound that's too minimal to consider. That's what I mean. Negligible effect with your sound consideration. So that means when you notice the vibration. Of course, when you pull or you push the backs or you move the backs, the backs will vibrate a little bit, right? That's the point. But it's not being considered here. Okay? You got the point. Okay, going back. Okay, now we have the summation Fx or net force is equal to the negative frictional force because it's in the left. Okay, negative 60 Newton. And then tension force going to the right, it is positive, so positive 200 Newton. Subtract it directly, that is your net force. Okay, diba? This is very easy, right? 200 minus 60. Okay. 200 minus 60 is equals to 140. You have now your 140 Newton. Guys, the only issue in this problem of forces is you need to be alert the maximum forces involved in that particular problem because sometimes you will be misled by there is also another force exists and you don't consider that. some terms will be applied also, but you take for granted. Okay? Not necessarily numbers or not necessarily data. Sometimes also word only. Word statement. For example, this one. A 5 kg bags directed downward is pulled to the right by a horizontal force. See? It's directed downward, but there's no given force directed downward. So you need to say, you need to compute for the weight force later on. Not necessarily mean that the data is given because the statements, it's there. That's why it's advantage if you are really good in English because of your analysis and interpretation, how the paragraph and sentences of the questions are being phrased. Because it's very important, guys, especially the conjunction, the comma, the period, because you can easily troubleshoot, the bat, the and, the conjunctions. Okay? Especially if there are conditions. Usually the or, and, but, with, under, in, with, on, like that. Okay? That's very important. Okay, now in here, there's no issues for downward forces, right? So your net force will be 140 Newton. This is your answer for letter A. Net force is the first, directly without question. Okay. Letter B, acceleration. And then use the second law of Isaac Newton. So, guys, you're already familiar in this case that always Isaac Newton, right? Because it's your clue. Always giving the mass. But if there's no mass at all, ay ipugos na acceleration po na siya sa second law. Maybe there's another thing. Kung gitulo ninyo katong mga acceleration, velocity over time, direction, because we are asking for the acceleration kasi. Okay, and then the distance, kinematic distance, and then involves yung acceleration. Okay, the final velocity, and then involves yung acceleration, blah, 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 so and so, ganon. Okay, so and whole lot more. Okay, you get the point? So it's not an issue of acceleration katong mga venturimeter. You remember in flow with flow, there's also acceleration there. If you consider the orifice meter, venturimeter, like something square root of 2a times acceleration due to gravity times h. If you can remember fluid mechanics, okay? But we are not here. Well, we are not on the fluid mechanics because this is not fluid. This is object. Okay? It's not medium. Medium meaning liquid, solid, gas. This is purely object. So it's not applicable, right? Okay, now we have to solve for the acceleration. So acceleration is equal to force times mass times acceleration. Let's use this force immediately without question. Okay, so 140 mass is 5 acceleration. Kasagaran mo sa iyo ani guys is here, ha? Because sometimes the mass will not be given in kilograms. Okay, be careful because kilogram is the compatible unit of mass to the Newton. Okay, now acceleration 140. So that's why I did not put units already because I know compatible ang kilogram to the Newton. I will not incorporate the units to cancel chuba-chucho. Okay, I go there because I know kilogram is the unit for to compatible with the Newton. No need to whatever. Okay, so for 140 divided by 5. Okay, so acceleration will be 140 divided by 5. I think, wait, ipugos ako in cells. I think it's 32. Okay, 32 without calculator. I will check if it is correct. I'll only use my brain. 140 divided by 5. Okay. Trying hard ko, no? So, okay. 140 divided by 5. It's not. It's 28. Layo ra. 32 kung mo, no? Sige. 30, 28. Layo ra akong brain cells. Charot. Gamit dito ang calculator. Charot. A is equals to 28 meter per second. And this is our acceleration. We answered already letter B. Right? Acceleration. Now letter C. How far will the bags travel? Meaning distance. Right? Far. Okay, how far? So like this. How far, how close, how near, that's signifying a distance. Indirect statement that it refers to a distance. Okay, not necessarily mentioning really that what distance, not all the time like that. Also enough, it stated the direction, the far, the near, the nearby, like that, underneath, above, like that, or top, like that. So that means distance or positioning. Something like that. You get the point? Okay. So how far will be the Black travel after the second distance, right? Okay. So now, know or determine the formula that involves time, and then you can also solve for distance. Okay? You get the point? So you will have to use velocity, right? Velocity is equal to distance over time because how much yung time? Oh, distance compute eh. Kuan ka, no? Velocity, dali na kayo. Okay? But take note, this is not a kinematic. Okay, this is only the regular velocity computation. For example, like a car, you move your car, what is the velocity, what is the speed. We will use only this simple formula for the calculation of the speed. But this is kinematic, something like that. Meaning to say, you involve a lot of direction, your forces where to go. You know, there's such different involvement of other forces, not limited only to moving forward, moving backward. Like that. Okay. So you need to use the kinematic distance. Distance is equal to the initial velocity times time plus 1/2 acceleration times time raised to the power 2. Okay, take note this mga palangga, if you try to rearrange based on my memorization, this can be used in algebra as your polynomial. Okay, topic in algebra. So the t squared here is your x squared, something like that. Okay, and then we can remember also that if there is an exponent to maximum in your order of your algebraic expression, that is order. Exponent in math means order. Okay, term in math means the number and the variable. Okay, the expression in the whole equation involving the number, the variable, and the exponent. Or if there's no exponent, then take that as it is, something like that. So that we can identify what is an order, an expression, and a term, and a function. A function is always like this, function of x and y. So you need to solve x if the y's are given. You have to solve the function of y if all x's are given. Something like that. You have to remember that all the time because it will be used in higher, math, higher chemistry if you are taking engineering course. Okay, something like that. Okay, now since we have the time already mentioned 15 seconds and we have to substitute that here. We have the time here, right? Okay, your only problem here because so far this is automatically without question. Now there is an initial velocity. Now analyze the problem. Okay, a 5 kilogram box is pulled to the right. It's coming from rest, right? It's not yet moving when Junjun tried to pull the bags. So if it is not moving, it is under rest. Meaning to say your initial velocity is 0. Okay, so distance is equal to initial velocity 0 times time 15 will be equal to 0. Then 1/2 times the acceleration ato na na-compute kanina, which is 28. Okay, and the time will be 15 raised to the power 2. And then we have the distance already. Okay, bingo. Class. Okay, compute. 15 times 15. Okay, ganon. Guys, again, this is algebra rule of PEMDAS. You know PEMDAS? Okay, I will teach you again over and over again. Okay, this expression is really tempting. Okay, this one. Distance 1/2 times 28 times 15 raised to the power 2. Take note, guys, if you start to the right, you have a wrong answer. If you say 1/2 times 28 and then bagging you times the 15 over 2, not that way. You need to go to the exponent first because PEMDAS start with parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So this is rule in algebra. If you see such operations involved, hindi ka kasagot, na times and divide as exponent, use the PEMDAS. Okay, here, what is the PEMDAS here? Parentheses. 15. Exponent is here. So use the 15 first to the power 2, right? So this is very clear. So where's the calculator mga palangga kumitan? Okay. Ganon siya. Why did not use the parentheses 28? Because there's no exponent yet. And the PEMDAS said parentheses first. Then second is the exponent. Okay? So that's very clear. So 15 raised to the power 2 is equals mga palangga 225. Okay? And that's the time 28 to 5. Take note. PEMDAS. Okay? The second step is exponent class. Multiplication. So you need to multiply both parentheses first before the 100. Mga palangga, marong mo guys kung mag-una mo sa mga times. Okay, so it will not yield the same answer. Trust me. Okay, so 225 times 28. Multiply first all with parentheses. Okay, so 6,300. Okay, 1/2 of 6,300. So this is your answer. Divided by 2. Okay, divided by 2. So this is 3,150. Okay, your distance covered in meters. Okay, like that. You get the point? So it will take the 3,150 meters. Okay? Ganon. You get the point? Something like that. I'll check the answer here in my notes. Okay. Diba saya? Okay. Nakakaloka. Where? It's here, okay? My gosh, 3,148.9. Closer pa rin siya. 3,150. Do you know kung ma-perfect ang point something? Ano ka? Okay, sige lang. That's still acceptable because it's very near. Okay? 3,150 and 3,148.9. Right? It's very close. You don't have to worry because there's round off like that, whatever. Okay? So that's perfect, right? Use the same answer. Okay? You get the point mga palanggan? Like it looks like easier, right? Okay. Muna siya guys. Okay, muna na siya ang mga forces, tuba, ang mga contact forces. Any questions so far mga palangga kong hitad? Before going to another type of force which is the weak nuclear force. Kanina siya ka-interesado kay kung ano yung weak nuclear force. Charot. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. You can comment, you can like, and you can share also. And then you can subscribe if you think you are not yet subscribing my YT channel. And you can click the bell notification for some latest updates of I Am a Singer channel voice. Bye bye, God bless everybody.